Hi there, it's Adam bringing you another video to the channel. We are continuing the 2122 UK Model Airport Series in 1/400 scale. So we're continuing with the Friday schedules, heading towards like a period between 9 and sort of 9:40, given the sort of movements that are on display. Of course we'll pretty much get into the update straight away, starting on the left side, working our way across. So we'll start off with the SAS Scandinavian Airlines A321, registration Oscar Yankee Kilo Bravo Bravo, doing a service from Stockholm as SK2547. And then next up we have an Air Europa 737-800 winglets, registration Echo Charlie Mike X-ray Mike, arriving from Madrid as UX1013. We have a Play A320neo, registration Tango Foxtrot Papa Papa Alpha, arriving from Reykjavik as OGA10. Then in the foreground we have this Delta 767-300, registration November 173 Delta Zulu, arriving from New York as DL208. And then taxiing out, we have this Ryanair 737-800, Ryanair UK 737, registration Golf Romeo Uniform Kilo Alpha, on a bit of a late departure to Dublin as RK813. Couple of movements here that we don't usually see. So the Air Europa usually takes up the stand by the Delta is, because we rotate between the 737 and the 787s with them, but of course Delta does vary between 757 and 767, so again there's a bit of a mixture there that could easily accommodate for both stands, but on this occasion it seemed more fitting to have the Delta here, given the stands that are filled on the other side, and obviously the Air Europa being utilised as 737, which where the Air Europa is more better for a smaller narrow body rather than maybe like a 757 or an A321, for instance. So anything sort of smaller than them, 737-800, A320 for instance, is more suitable. So yeah, not often we see them kind of aircraft positioning where they are, so to speak, but still, you know, accommodating for the actual layout. We have this TUI 787-9 Dreamliner, arriving as BY143 from Cancun, as Golf Tango, registration Golf Tango Uniform India Mike. We have the Norse UK 787-9 Dreamliner, registration Golf Charlie Kilo Oscar Foxtrot. This will be heading out to Miami as Z0703. And then we have another TUI 787-9 on the far side there, registration Golf Tango Uniform India Juliet. This is heading out to Cancun as BY166. So we've got one Dreamliner, TUI Dreamliner coming in from Cancun, which will operate elsewhere, and one going out to Cancun, which operated from elsewhere. And then a little bit of a sort of special movement, which I thought I'd include, just kind of fill the void a little bit. We have this Cargojet Airways 757-200 freighter, registration Charlie Foxtrot Kilo Alpha Juliet, arriving as Halifax Stanfield as CTJ 347. I would like to see a Cargojet 767 in 1/400 scale. That would be welcome. From what I've seen, I think most of the 767s have operated over the years to the UK rather than 757s. But again, I think it's more than capable of accommodating for a 757 to operate from Halifax. So yeah, thought I'd include that in this update. Again, just to kind of fill the void. Otherwise, there won't really be much happening on the cargo section. And that's it for today's update. Obviously, following on from the last video I did, you know, I said I was going to Heathrow. I did go to Heathrow. Again, staying in Renaissance. Very good experience. The views out the window are very accommodating. Now, the only downside, obviously, filming from within, inside, or taking photos is the aspect of the glass, such as reflections, depending on time of day, particularly if you've got lights on in the room, or your general sort of shadows and reflections, even if you don't have any lights on. Obviously by nightfall, you know, when things get dark, it's kind of impossible really to really see much, apart from obviously everything lit up where possible. And yeah, sort of, you know, maybe just general dirt from the rain and things like that, that kind of get on the windows. But if you've never been, they do have like a sort of dual window thing. So one window actually slides across, or so it did in our room, and it's very accommodating in terms of, you know, basically you can do that just to, then you only have sort of one pane of glass to have to worry about. But no, I'm happy with the photos and video footage that I got. You know, it's better than nothing. And obviously we did have spells of rain as well. So being inside, obviously being comfortable, nice and cozy in a sense, you know, nice and warm. You don't have to worry about being cold, getting wet, anything like that. Yeah, it's very accommodating in that sense. And like I said, generally the windows are wide enough for, you know, for multiple people to view out of course, and to get a nice view of the actual airport itself. I think for me it was a little bit educational, to be honest, to see how many United Airlines operate there, 767s, 777s. This has spurred me on a little bit to consider getting some United 767s in 1/200 scale. Which I will, yeah, I look forward to receiving them, depending on what's available. Maybe a little bit surprised by how many American airlines operate there as well, but I'm not too focused on them as such. There was something else that I was, British Airways 777s. Now, not so much, more so the 777-200s. I'm kind of looking at as well in 1/200 scale. I've been kind of looking at them in 1/400 as well, with the Costa Rica concept. But yeah, I think in 1/200 scale I'd focus more on the 200 series. I think I kind of like the small nature of them. I do have other British Airways models in 1/200 as well. Not many, but no, I think they'd be quite accommodating. So yeah, the trip has influenced me a little bit to consider some more models. And yeah, I'd definitely do it again. And one thing I do want to consider possibly is going to Manchester and getting a flight down to Heathrow with BA. That'd be a good experience, something I've never done before either. So yeah, if we do go again, maybe next year, certainly something to consider in means of getting down there. And the actual hotel, yeah, very accommodating, as you'd probably imagine. Obviously a lot of the crew stay there, you know, so a fair share of pilots and cabin crew. But yeah, generally good overall accommodation. and obviously very fitting for the aspect of, you know, seeing traffic at Heathrow. Pretty much, you know, if you're booking a room like that, it is probably one of the, I'd say better than the room I stayed in at Manchester, because Manchester seemed a little bit limited, and I feel like at Heathrow, you know, alongside the runway, you're seeing a lot more action. You're seeing a lot, basically, you know, depending on runway operations, you're seeing whatever basically arrives will later go out and depart. So it's not a fact that you're going to miss out on seeing only sort of departures or certain aircraft, because like I said, once they, you know, they might arrive on the furthest runway, but eventually they will depart, so we've got a good chance of seeing pretty much everything. It does depend on, obviously photo wise, better for aircraft taxiing, but again, you know, I got some good shots of aircraft on the move down the runway, either departing and coming in as well. A lot of the arrivals, obviously they switched to sort of runways around about 3 o'clock, 3 p.m, which was good. A lot of them movements after that I got on sort of film, on video, so yeah, I felt like I was more accommodating in that sense. But again, you know, you've got to be mindful of the windows, that there are going to be reflections maybe, and you know, the windows are not going to be perfectly clean as well. Obviously, if it does rain, that was a bit of an issue for me at one point. If it does rain, the raindrops can get in the way. But, you know, if it's a quick shower, it does soon dry up as well, so it's not all bad. But yeah, if you want to do that, if you know, certainly if you can afford to do it, then do it, because it's certainly a great experience for anybody, to be quite honest. Even if you're not familiar with aviation, or if you are an aviation enthusiast, of course, then yeah, it's something to certainly do. Not much progress in other aspects, but yeah, again, we'll just continue with these updates, and we'll continue with the next one, which I think the next update is around about 1 o'clock period on the Friday schedules, so we'll continue that next weekend.